Hey, this beer is tasting great. Now that we've got this second one,
I know, I'm getting to the bottom of that glass in a
I gotta
hurry.
get going soon, but I don't know if you have time for one last quick question.
Yeah.
You know, so we talk a lot about the cloud, and a lot of clients who are looking at that move and looking at potentially moving their infrastructure into the cloud. It's a strategy we recommend quite often.
Yeah.
Is it a buyer beware market today, or is it do you have to have a tour guide to help you navigate this scene, or how does it work?
Boy, it's a great question. So, what we've seen is, and we've got quite a bit of experience now taking people out into various forms of cloud technologies. We've seen a lot of really high business value delivered in the agility and the speed in which assets can be turned up, and there's just no longer a huge constraint on workforce for clients, and so huge benefits. But you do have to be a little careful, and you just got to be sort of mindful and manage it correctly, and so there are some challenges. And we talk about it, kind of utilitization of IT. That's kind of a lofty concept, but basically what they're doing is they're taking computer processing power, and they're turning it into a utility.
Yes.
Almost like power or water, right? And so people say that, and they kind of think that, oh, conceptually I get that. They really mean a utility model.
Oh, much like a utility billing.
Very much so, much like a bill. So what'll end up happening is you've got to watch your billings, like you do with your cell phone charges or the old telephone. You get some surcharges, you get use taxes, you get all kinds of stuff.
I still can't figure out my utility bill. And I'm
crazy.
just a small little residential.
And sometimes those things, just like in your normal utility management, you have to challenge them in order to make sure you're getting billed correctly. So there's some challenges there. The other thing is the bills are maybe a little hard to consume.
Okay.
So a lot of times they're line item based, and you can't make heads or tails of what's going on there. So part of professionally managing it is managing the billing around it. And so that's a big deal. And then the other thing about sort of the utilization or the utility model is, the bigger players are treating it almost from a customer service perspective like a utility. And so you have to really watch your service level agreements, your SLAs, and you have to buy the level of service that you expect.
And
that's so key. Depending on what systems you actually move out there and where you move them and what their business criticality is, you want to watch that support model and make sure that your business is getting the attention that it really requires at that point in time, where there's a problem, right? Now, the good news is these things are tanks, and so they run fairly flawlessly. But when there are issues, just like a utility, if your power goes out in your neighborhood, all the power comes back on at the same time, because if you're in a pool of shared resources. And so you've got to decide whether that pool is right for you, or whether you'd rather have more control over whatever critical business applications you've got out there. So, really paying attention to the way your agreements are structured, having some experience of someone that's kind of been there before and maybe had to deal with some of these challenges, I think is pretty key. In my mind, though, there's no question that the trade-off that you get for business value and agility and just the speed that you can move, and getting IT, kind of away from your business as a constraint, I believe that's a big win.
So we see, let me just recap that a little bit. So we as an organization see high business value.
Correct.
In the private cloud model specifically, right?
Yep.
But for some organizations, they may need our assistance navigating through a couple of these key points. One is just managing the billing process. If you describe it as a utility bill, making sure that there's some validation
correct
of the components of the bill, that they understand it. There are different providers who summarize that differently, I expect. Two is a great point, which is SLA, and we tend to think that all the terms of the SLA are something we get, but actually they're priced as components and you're buying each of those components, right? So making sure we understand the SLA.
Yep.
And then the last point is pool management. When the pool is up, when the pool goes down, much like the utility, when it's down, it's down. So knowing how big that pool is important.
Correct.
Sounds like our Bacardi guys delivering more Bacardi for us.
That's fantastic.
Anyway, this is great, Brian. Thanks. I think these are helpful.
Awesome. Thank you.